So welcome to another custom lens sensor settings test, and we're still working with the Panasonic FZ1000 without a filter, but I prefer using it with a filter. So here is the default setting of 0000 in the natural color profile. So I'm showing this first to show basically when you put a lot of contrast and saturation and sharpness into this image, it looks too digital. If you look up at just the straight lines in the architecture, you can see when you zoom into the pixels, you can actually see the stepping. So that's one indicator to me that the sharpening is too great. Then of course the shadow areas, when you see the shadows are just almost lost and there's not much detail, and also when there's a lot of noise in the shadow areas, I know that there's too much contrast a lot of the time. So now let's take a look at the custom settings without my LUT applied and see where my starting point is. So admittedly, this is a little bit too bright on the exposure, and I'm not shooting in log or raw, so this is not an attempt to shoot to the right or expose to the right. This is just completely an accident where I didn't have my lens shade outside and I was making a bad judgment for exposure. But even with this problem with overexposure, let's take a look at my LUT plus some sharpening, and to see how it can actually bring back a little bit of that overexposure, which is quite amazing because we're shooting an 8-bit image, and normally you're not supposed to try to expose to the right or overexpose. So let's take a look at those final settings. So here is the final image with the LUT applied, and of course I've had to apply sharpening in post-production as well. That's my general method. So I think it did a pretty good job of dealing with an image that could have been lost. It's an 8-bit file, which is really amazing. This is not 10-bit footage. This is the Panasonic FZ1000 1-inch bridge camera sensor, and I was able to pull it back from looking a bit overexposed. Now the good news is that also tells me that I have more ability to shoot in low light now with these settings. So for more information, check out my website at silverlightphotoco.com/cameras.